Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay?
One question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia like Japan about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused.
One thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay, right? You know, he's asking me. Now you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay?
One question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia like Japan about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused.
One thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay, right? You know, he's asking me. Now you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay.
One question.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honors, and glories unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem HaKadosh. Double honors to my apostles and elders of our millstone that doing well. Peace and blessings be unto the elect. This is Brother Dawada from GMS Detroit Camp. Coming at you with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem HaKadosh. Today I want to do another In Transit. All right, the title of this video will be In Transit, Who Knows Better About Surprise Than Japan? Shaking my head. The Lord's will this video be edifying to the elect. Now you saw the opening clip, you know, which what I have pulled up on the screen is the first thing that I thought of when he made that statement. And I bet the same thing was flowing through the mind of, a lot of so-called Japanese people, and a lot of, not just Japanese people, people in general that have seen that clip. I bet they're all thinking about the same event that America took the chief part in, that came as a surprise to the inhabitants of Japan. All right? I'm sure we're all thinking of the same thing. Trump, he knew what he meant by who knows better about surprise than Japan, as he laughed. And meanwhile, that lady, I can't remember her name, Toshinaga or something like that. Whatever that woman's name is, she just had to eat that. She had to eat that. That so-called Japanese woman had to eat that. She couldn't say anything. And meanwhile, when you look at it, Trump is making the Vesica Pisces with his hand, which is a Masonic symbol. He ain't just doing that hand positioning like that. He knows what he's doing. He often sits like that. But nevertheless, he's literally poking fun at how, America played a chief role in, what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And I pulled that up for you. And it says, all I did was type in, I think I typed in where, or did Hiroshima and Nagasaki, or where is Hiroshima and Nagasaki? I believe that's what I had typed in. And as you can see, they're both in Japan. This came as a shock to the inhabitants of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All right, those inhabitants of Japan at those two locations, they were shocked. One moment you're living, next thing you know, your shadow was etched into the wall. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? He knew what he was saying. Nobody, he ain't talking. That Pearl Harbor thing, that was what do you call it? That was a covert cover-up for what he was truly saying. He was literally laughing at them for what America did, right? By way of dropping Hiroshima, dropping Fat Boy and Little Man on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And just a few weeks ago, it came out in an interview that the man that piloted that plane said that he would do it again. He didn't feel a lick bad about doing it. All those people deleted. And that's how this devil is. He don't care. Psalm 140, verse 1 and 2. Continually are they gathered together for war. All right? What's that? Psalm 55 and 11, I believe it is. The words of his mouth were smoother than oil, yet were they drawn swords. You know? Roughly paraphrases. So this devil, he's a man of the gun and the sword and the missile and destruction. That's all he knows. Like, why else would he say something like this? You know? Bringing up Pearl Harbor. Oh my, like, come on now. We all know what he was really hinting at. We all knew. We all know. And that's probably one of the reasons why that woman was looking so awkwardly, because she was probably nervous thinking that Trump would actually make a joke about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You know? And then Trump even bringing that up is complete foolishness. You know? It's complete foolishness, because when you look into it, Japan is one of the allies of America. So Japan is asking, well, look, why didn't you let your allies know that you were about to roll on Iran? Trump's response, well, why didn't you, Japan, let us know that y'all were going to roll on us in Pearl Harbor? Allegedly. You know, allegedly Japan rolled on America, you know, and caused that incident in Pearl Harbor, which I believe that's one of the things that, you know, helped, you know, the average American citizen, you know, basically convinced them to join the war. You know, and they saw that, okay, that gives America an excuse now to join the war. Oh my goodness, which is what the Rothschilds wanted. You know, when you go deeper. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that was an inside job, the whole Pearl Harbor, you know, incident. You know, but nevertheless, you know, that's what they brought up. Or he brought up, that being Trump. All right, I believe I typed it in. Yeah, see, Japan, typed this in so you can see it before the video. It says in 1941, December 7th, Japan launched a surprise military strike on the United States naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, killing about 2,400 Americans and destroying or damaging nearly 20 warships and 300 aircraft. So Trump bringing that up is a stupid example. It's literally stupid and unrelated, because why would Japan, your enemy, tell America, yo, we about to roll on you, before they roll on them? Japan that wouldn't make any sense. Back then they were enemies. Currently they are allies. You see how that doesn't make any sense? It'd be different if back then, you know, let's say America rode on, I don't know, somewhere over there on the other side of the world. Let's say Turkey, just a random example. Let's say America rode on Turkey, you know, or rather, let's say Japan rode on Turkey, but didn't let America know first. That would have been a good example. But no, he said, well, when y'all rode on us, why didn't you give us a heads up? That's stupid. Back then you were not allies. So how then would that make any sense? Right now, you two are allies. So why didn't you tell your ally before you rolled on Iran? Come on now. But see, when you get this devil stuck in a box, you know, with his back to the wall, cornered, he makes an excuse to try to wiggle out of it. You know, eventually, them words that he has, that shit gonna come back to bite his ass. And all your different allies, pursuant to Obadiah, the 1st chapter, they that eat thy bread, you know, have laid a wound for thee. You know, so certain of these nations, they're getting, or rather the allies of America, they're getting goodies out of America. You know, they're getting certain types of aid from America. You know, they have benefits for teaming up with America. But at the end of the day, the Heavenly Father is going to put the Spirit upon America's allies to roll on them. And here it is. This is how you treat your allies? Look how America tried to big bully Canada. You know, America tried to bully him. Ain't that supposed to be one of your allies? You tried to bully him? Talking about you want to take over Canada. You're going after Canada next. You know? So, it even came out that America or Trump and the leader of Canada tried to strike a deal. But then, you know, Trump ended up saying something crazy, you know, and the deal basically, it was going to be heavily favored toward America, and highly, unfair for Canada, like ridiculously unfair. An example, let's say you and your buddy are about to go in on a business, but your buddy tell you, okay, look, yeah, we're going in on this business. Yeah, we've been cool for a very long time, but guess what? This how we're going to do a split like we discussed, but the split is going to be 95% my way and 5% your way. I make 95% of the profit, you make 5%. That's total disrespect. And that's the same type of time Trump was on with the leader of Canada. So he got pissed the hell off. But that's how America does its allies. And that's one of the reasons why America's allies are going to shoot missiles on America. Because they can't wait. They sick of this hoe. This that same hoe that's been around the block, swapping venereal diseases, constantly, hooping and hollering and causing hell for everybody. So eventually that shit gonna stop. Eventually, someone that hoe gonna meet her match. And that's what's gonna happen to America. Eventually America is gonna meet its match by way of World War III. And who's gonna be the one that's gonna scoop America into that war? All right? The small hats. They're gonna, get America into that war. As it is written, surely the least of the flock. Who is the least of the flock? The small hats. Right? Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Shall draw who out? America. All right? Draw America out into where? Into what? Into World War III. And small hats are going to be the ones that's going to get America involved in this Third World War. You see? And then what does it say after that? Surely he shall make their land, whose land? America's land, desolate, meaning totally destroyed, with them, with the land of Israel, because that land is going to be nuked and destroyed too. But the difference is America will never be rebuilt, nor will it ever be inhabited. The land of Israel will be rebuilt. The land of Israel will be inhabited. As is written, there shall dwell in Jerusalem itself. All right? So eventually we're going to be returned back to our land. The true Israelites. So, this just goes to show you that this devil, he has no empathy. He doesn't think twice about his words. And who knows better about surprise than Japan? Why would he even say that? You think that situation that took place in Pearl Harbor, that's nothing compared to how many people you massacred during Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And here there's been plenty of reports saying that, they were ready to give up. The other side was ready to give up. But you devils, you wanted to test your technology. Here it is, the war was getting wrapped up. You just wanted to do that shit anyways. You read the history books, oh yeah, this is what brought about the end of the war. No, they was already to wrap that thing up. They was already ready to wrap it up. But hey, that's these devils. Continually are they gathered together for war. And best believe Japan has never forgotten about that. Just keep it up. It's like that kid on the block that keeps getting bullied. Eventually, either he gonna hit that gym or he gonna team up with some boys to come roll on you. Here it is, you done stole his lunch money, constantly. Then you turn around and claim that y'all cool. When you with your boys, you sipping, you chilling, you bring them up in conversation. Oh yeah, me and boy, oh yeah, buddy, me and buddy, we cool. Nah. Eventually he gonna roll on you, and you gonna remember all those things that you did to him. When he rolls on you. And that's what these nations are gonna do to America. They're gonna roll on America, and even America's allies are gonna turn on them, pursuant to Obadiah, the 1st chapter. All right? So with that, all praises, honors, and glories be to Yahweh, Bashem, Shabbat, Shabbat, Kadash. Double honors to my apostles, my elders, very millstone, they're doing you well. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the members of the elect, the unselected, and the third. With that being said, shalom. Barak Hakim, if you still listen, shalom.